There's so much power in it, so many great ways that it could be used. At the same time, I don't think that it's a twofold issue where you have, especially for larger organizations, this is healthcare and otherwise, where you have an employee base that is hearing different things about the power and utility of AI to make their jobs faster and easier, et cetera. If an organization hasn't been proactive in specifying which AI tools can be used internally, can I go out to Chat GPT, right? Can I, communicate with X tool to, summarize something for me, et cetera, then you can end up in a position where your intellectual property and sensitive data is being placed and put, by employees that are just trying to go faster, do better, but haven't been given the proactive boundaries of using
Yeah.
AI tools.
Welcome to Podcast Wise Perspectives, Cybersecurity, and AI. Today's guest sits at the unique intersection of technology, business, and law. Tina Williams-Koroma is a licensed attorney, a CISSP, and a serial entrepreneur. Starting her career at Lockheed Martin's Leadership Development Program, she went on to found T-Secure, a critical infrastructure protection firm, and SciDeploy, an AI-driven platform that acts as a, quote, digital twin to test security updates before they break your operations. She's an adjunct instructor at UMBC, a board member for TEDCO, and the author of Our Father's Business. In this conversation, we go beyond the buzzwords. Tina breaks down why most AI problems are actually, quote, data management problems in disguise. We discuss the shift from reactive tools to preemptive security, why your talent acquisition strategy might be looking for, quote, purple unicorns that don't exist, and the daily leadership habits that keep a founder's foresight sharp. All right, let's get started. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
Hey, Tina, how are you?
Hi, Finn. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for asking. All right, we're going to jump right into it. So, Tina, given the relentless pace of change in both regulation and technology, what is the single most effective daily practice you maintain to ensure your strategic foresight remains sharp and actionable for your team?
Wow. One thing is I think it's engaging the team. We have a really dynamic team here and different team members lean into different areas more than others. So we have like one guy on our team that is just like, I mean, he just is all into it when the discussion is around some new tool or some new gadget. And so, like a lot of times we have weekly meetings, and so I'm able to like gather some of that to reflect on, throughout the week related to different tools or different threats. So I think one thing is just really engaging with my team where, I like surrounding myself by smart people. And so I think really leveraging the expertise of my team is one thing that I do on a very regular basis. The other thing is I like looking at different cyber and threat bulletins that come out. And so I think that's also another practice that I have is just to kind of look at the headlines and highlights to see what the threats are looking like. And in particular, looking at the root cause of the threats, because most threats come back to a common root cause. So I'm always interested to kind of see what it boils down to.
So, do you use AI to help you with that, like to skim through the bulletin and be like, "Hey, give me the key points of these things," and that way you don't spend hours on end to read
Yeah,
all.
reading. Yeah. I don't use AI in that way right now. I do use AI to do a lot of skimming and give me the summary points for a lot of different things. Usually, I would say different opportunities that I'm looking at,
Okay.
for bidding or building our team, less so for articles, um, related to cyber and AI. I think I just kind of look at the headlines myself first. And, if there's something that I think is of interest, then I'll kind of double down on
Okay.
it. But for right now, I use my human skimming and
Okay.
summarization. Yeah.
All right. Now, what are the most pressing regulatory challenges the C-suite executives in healthcare and technology sectors currently facing regarding data governance and cross-border data transfer?
Yeah, I think that one of the biggest challenges is related to AI. There's so much power in it, so many great ways that it could be used. At the same time, I don't think that it's a twofold issue where you have, especially for larger organizations, this is healthcare and otherwise, where you have an employee base that is hearing different things about the power and utility of AI to make their jobs faster and easier, et cetera. If an organization hasn't been proactive in specifying which AI tools can be used internally, can I go out to Chat GPT, right? Can I, communicate with X tool to, summarize something for me, et cetera, then you can end up in a position where your intellectual property and sensitive data is being placed and put, by employees that are just trying to go faster, do better, but haven't been given the proactive boundaries of using
Yeah.
AI tools. So I think that's a part of it. The other part of that, still staying with AI, is just organizations understanding what data they have, right? Data governance, data management in itself has been an ongoing topic. Like, is the data labeled? Where does it live? Archiving data, when it's no longer accurate, maintaining, or archiving data when it's no longer needed,
Mhm.
managing information so that it's still accurate. All of that pertains even before you bring in AI. Just the data part of it is how well are you doing data management? And then if you want to try to use that data to create some sort of internal model, or you want to, use AI to discover and search amongst that data for you and summarize it, you first
Mhm.
need to get your data management part
Yeah.
just under control before it's of value from an AI perspective, and before you can properly ensure that it's only being shared where it should be getting shared. You first have to know what you have. And I think
Mhm.
that's probably the biggest challenge that organizations face around governance and, even leveraging AI to optimize or make more efficient their operations, is understanding exactly what they have and exactly where it lives
Mhm.
in their environment and who currently has access, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think those, just your basic data problems before you can even start getting into, looking at ways to further optimize or leverage that data
Yeah.
throughout the organization.
Yeah. Because you can also have, 75 version of one document living, right?
That's exactly that's it. That's it. Yep.
Yeah, because I remember at one of the organization I worked at, they could have, I think the max I saw was like 100 something of that same document, and then you're like,
Right.
which document is the real one,
Right.
right?
Right.
So it's like
Exactly.
final is like ABC final number 2. You're
Right.
like,
Right. Right. Yeah.
okay. And then
Right.
it's ABC final number 5. You're like,
Right.
hmm,
Mm.
okay. Which one is it?
Logic? Right, right. Yeah,
So then which one do I delete? Which one do
right,
I not delete? Do I keep it? Like this is all like,
exactly.
and it depends on how the employee works, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
particularly like that was one employee, right? Like he liked to name his files that way. And I was
okay,
like, I need to delete some of this stuff. I need some
yeah,
space.
right,
So tell me which one is which.
right, right.
And
Yep,
and it will take some time to
yeah,
figure it out. You have to
yeah,
open all of them, and they're big files that
uh-huh,
take back this was in 2012, 2013
mm,
times, and the
yep,
files were on-prem,
okay, yeah,
and they had to open that file that was huge, that had a lot of calculations and
okay,
stuff like that on Excel
right,
files, so it took a while to open.
yeah,
So you're like, "Okay, so
mm,
I can
right.
go I can go get my coffee and come back." It was fun times.
Yeah, 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 and while technology has certainly evolved and the like since then, some of the basic problems still remain,
Mhm.
It's, yeah, so and it's only exasperated now, like some of the new innovation that is available, and as organizations are wanting to do more with their data
Mhm.
and optimize operations, you kinda have to go back to the basics
Yeah.
of data management before you can get really savvy on having a robust data governance plan, and that includes being able to optimize your use of that data
Yeah.
for
And
growth.
it's not like you can, erase everything and start from the beginning,
Oh, no.
start
Yeah.
again, right?
Mm-mm.
Like, as you
Yep.
can't do that. So
Nope.
it's like you have
Yeah.
to go back and make sure
Yep.
you have everything, copacetic.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Now, what are the key cybersecurity maturity models or frameworks that technology and business leaders are prioritizing for supply chain risk management?
Yeah. So I think some of that is driven by the industry or primary industry that an organization is in. So certainly defense contractors are very focused on the CMMC, right? The cybersecurity maturity model. And for organizations such as those with any sort of financial nexus, the FTC safeguards rule is one where it applies to organizations that aren't just specifically finance organizations, but could be even higher ed institutions that process financial aid on behalf of their learners. They too have responsibilities and obligations for that safeguards rule
Okay.
in establishing a formal risk management program. Certainly, one that has been in place and continues for healthcare organizations is your HIPAA,
Mhm.
related to privacy and high tech as an accompanying regulation. I also think while it is not a regulated framework in and of itself, one that I think is very beneficial and something that should be used by organizations in various sectors, private, commercial sectors, is the NIST cybersecurity framework. I
Okay.
think that that's a good baseline of controls to manage an organization with, and then map it to various other frameworks that an organization may be required to report out
Mm.
using formally, but having a consistent base of controls that stem from the NIST cybersecurity framework, I think is a really strong and solid place for an organization to be. And then they can just map from that framework to the specific regulatory framework that they're responsible for.
Okay. So basically have that as like a foundation.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Now, what are the top three emerging threats in cloud security that specifically impact decision makers running multi cloud or even hybrid environments?
The top three threats. Not sure that I have a three in mind, but the a couple of them that I do have in mind is related to identity, managing identities
Hmm.
across those environments. And then also just API interfaces within and across those environments. So, as it pertains to identities, one of the things that is becoming increasingly apparent is that when you're thinking about inventorying now, it's not just your hardware and your software and middleware and firmware that needs to be tracked, but it's also your identities. How many accounts and identifiers do we have? Where do they exist in the environment? What kind of access do they have?
Mhm.
Because these, especially the non-human identities, the NHIs, right? The service type of accounts and things like that are used to automate a lot of work in and across environments. Sometimes individuals lose track of what these different accounts are, what they're used for.
Mhm.
Everybody's afraid to disable the account because Bob, who left the company 4 years ago but was with the company for 20 years, set it up. And I'm sure it's doing something important, but I'm not sure all of what it does. Right.
Right.
And so that becomes problematic though, because have an adversarial user that is able to compromise that account, then suddenly you can have an adversary leveraging an account that has broad access across multiple environments. And you're not fully clear, or you're not necessarily monitoring whether that activity is appropriate or not.
Hmm.
It could look just appropriate enough.
Right.
And especially if you're not clear already on what it does or what it should be doing, that's causing you the fear for wanting to disable it, that's even furthers the risk. So that's one kind of area of risk, and threats that are associated with compromising accounts and leveraging the privileges associated with accounts would be able to exploit that sort of vulnerability. The other one, as I'd mentioned, just around application interfaces, APIs, there are so many different applications. And just when you think about how convenient we want things to be across environments and clouds, and we open up a lot of the interfaces, and it's not just APIs. We're also opening up interfaces just to make these different environments kind of coalesce and work well
Mm-hmm.
together, right? Um, as with any sort of, third party cloud you might use, there's the control of security and what controls are in place or not in place. That's where it becomes a challenge because the security that you have for certain data, while it's in one part of your environment or in one application, it may not be the same depending upon,
Right.
which cloud you're using or which cloud level
Mm-hmm.
that you're using, right? There's all these different service offerings and security capabilities available depending upon which tier of, or which specific subscription you have with a cloud provider. Do you have business basic or do you have business, elite? Do you
Right.
have enterprise basic or do you have enterprise elite? So I think it can be challenging to keep a handle on all of the security controls and measures that are in place and available across these various environments and interfaces in a way that ensures there's a commensurate and appropriate level of security for the data, no matter where it's traversing in different parts of your environment,
Yeah.
cloud, non-cloud, on-prem. Yeah.
Now, you said the acronyms NHI earlier. So does that
Right.
stand for non-human identifier?
Right, right. Non-human identities. Yeah,
Okay.
identifiers. Yeah. So
Okay.
those, just an example of those is like a service account
Mm-hmm.
on a server on a machine. So it's not a human being's
Okay.
account that they're using to log in every day. It's some account that could be, achieving some daily action or activity that needs to happen, and there's no one that is logging in individually to start that process.
Yeah.
It's something that, yeah.
Like something like an automation um, tool that needs that account to be able to function.
Right. Yes, it's the account itself that can perform a certain automated function.
And now, is that something that the IT team or even the security team needs to? I would assume that they need to make sure that the password is changed every so often.
Well, see, that becomes a part of the challenge, right? Like, this service account is set up for the purpose of almost set it and forget it.
Hmm.
This needs to happen on a daily basis. So if the service account doesn't run a daily backup, for instance, right? Like, if that's a part of what the service account is used for, and it's like, password expired, so the backup didn't run, that becomes a problem in and of itself. Yeah, that's a part of what makes service accounts challenging because they're not always given the same.
Care, same thought.
Yeah, uh-huh. Yeah, same care, same policy
Yeah,
as,
as a
a
human would.
human.
Yeah.
Yes, a human account.
On how is the rise of generative AI fundamentally altering the competitive landscape for early stage B2B technology companies? What's your thought?
I think that, the extent to which there is equitable access to generative AI tools for early stage companies, I think that the playing field is level with regard to these early stage companies being able to leverage those tools
Sure.
to move and grow faster, right?
Okay.
I think that um that those founders that don't know how to leverage generative AI are at a disadvantage.
Mm,
It's I think it's at a point now where you can't not be using
yeah.
various generative AI tools to make your growth more efficient, or otherwise you're just behind.
Hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, that's how I would frame the competitive advantage available with generative AI for early stage startups. Founders that know how to use it well are
Have a leg up versus ones that
yes,
are not using it. Okay.
yes, yes.
Now, what is the average budget allocation increase or decrease that C-suite's executive are projecting for digital transformation initiative in the next fiscal year across the tech and healthcare industries, do you think?
I mean, broadly for tech, I don't have as much of a perspective just for digital transformation as an isolated activity and how much that's, projected to increase. Yeah, I have more of a perspective and thought on how the investment is shifting with regard to cybersecurity related technologies and the types and categories of technologies, digital transformation specific to the type of cyber tools. Gartner has a prediction, I think, that by 2028, about 5% of current detection and response tools will be displaced by preemptive cybersecurity tools.
Wow.
And the budgets, year over year, one stat as it pertains to budgets that I keep a steady pulse on because I think that it's very telling for how the approach that the C-suite is taking to cybersecurity needs to transform is the growth of cyber budgets, which continues in the billions globally, as compared to the growth of the cost of cyber crime, which continues in the trillions
Hmm.
globally. So the cost of cybercrime continues to go up as spending globally in cybersecurity continues to go up. But the gap is not, it's not closing. So to me, that is saying that the current expenditures in budget by organizations is not properly addressing cybersecurity
Yeah.
because the cost of cybercrime keeps increasing. And so there needs to be a fundamental shift in how cyber budgets are allocated in order to address that $1 trillion cybercrime
Hmm.
ticket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, which new to market healthcare technology ventures are disrupting traditional patient care models through AI driven diagnostics or personalized medicine?
Yeah. Yeah. Let me think of one of the more I saw something so recently. I think it was like AI driven. Well, certainly like my doctor is, looking at using, when I'm in a doctor's appointment, like using AI to take notes so the doctor can pay more
Hmm.
attention,
Yeah.
and deliver more focused patient care. There's also, I think, the use more so in a research context, right? Like looking at large data sets to try to identify patterns, quicker, faster as we look for like different cures. I also think that some of the disruption for health and healthcare tools, I'm not sure how it's there and it's present, but I'm not sure how some of these technologies, how quickly they're going to be able to get incorporated for patient care based upon like some of the state's reactions or policies and laws that are getting created around how different AI tools, depending upon the sector in which they're being used, healthcare being a very sensitive one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so disruptive technologies, yes, the the note taking, I think, diagnosis, still need human in the loop. That is a
Mhm.
disruptive tech. But I think that there's some other disruptive tech opportunities in health that may be up and coming, but I'm not sure how quickly we'll see them in the market, just depending upon where they show up first.
Yeah.
Because different states, as they're considering the regulations that they want to have around AI, in particular, AI as it pertains to sensitive, I guess I can call it sensitive or high risk areas like health.
Mhm.
They're trying to kind of put some bounds on that because of the concerns of decisions being made using AI that could have such serious impacts to the health and safety. Um,
Of the patient. Yeah.
yes, yes.
Okay. Yeah, 'cause, like, so for me, I had the experience myself with when I went to go do a mammogram, right? And the mammogram was like the tech was like, "Okay, do you want this AI tool to analyze your scan?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure, why not?" Right? Just an
Yeah.
extra set of eyes.
Right. Yeah.
And she's like, "Oh, okay, sure." And then she's like, "Oh, it's gonna be $27 for this this additional, AI set of eyes." And I'm like,
Right.
"Okay, no problem. Here's
Right.
$27.
Right.
Have the AI tool take care of it, and I'm good." And
Right.
then, that's what happened, and I'm like, "Oh, this is good," because, if the AI tool can diagnose, right, and then the tech can verify and say, "Okay, with my human eyes, I can verify that yes or no, this is the AI tool said is true, then okay, let's give that to the patient." So I think that's really the next thing that I believe would go into play. It's just now if the insurance will pay for it, yes or no.
Yeah. 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 I think there's a lot of, I would call them like assistive tools,
Hmm.
when it comes to direct care at this point, right? Like, I think that there's, opportunity for disruption and assistance and review, right? But I think that and I hope that there remains like, guardrails around AI as it continues to mature, just because it's one of those sensitive areas, much like law, right? Like
Hmm.
we've seen multiple cases where lawyers are using AI for their briefs and the like. And, sometimes, and I think it's getting better and better, again, as AI matures, but sometimes there's been cases where there's non-existent cases referenced in
Okay.
the brief, right? And you're dealing with people's
Livelihood.
life and liberty. Right, right. So
Yeah.
healthcare, it's their, health and, law, it's their life and liberty. And, same with uses of AI and like law enforcement,
Mhm.
context and stuff for facial recognition and, things like that. So a lot of really great opportunities for disruption. But I think that that disruption has to be hurt.
Contained.
Yes, yes, by
Yeah.
keeping a human in the loop.
Yeah. Totally
Yeah.
agree. Now, what are the legal and ethical implications of deploying autonomous decision-making systems in critical business operations, and what legal precedents should executive be tracking?
Yeah, so goodness, I think that, one thing when you think of like AI agents, one of the like trends is just like, for automation that's AI driven is, like these agentic AI, right? Agents for everything. Like
Mhm.
the agent can handle this, the agent can schedule my appointments and my calendars and, just tying back to one of my earlier chats around like non-human identifiers, not quite the same as like agents per se, but similar in the sense that if these agents are acting on your behalf, doing things for you, responding, setting things up, accessing different things, on your behalf, it still is like you still have agency over that agent, right? And
Mhm.
if someone and an adversary can exploit your agent, which there's been multiple stories about that happening, if you can exploit these agents, then suddenly you have access to everything that these agents have access. You have permission and the ability to do all the things that these agents
Mhm.
can do. And so I think that again, like with any technology that gets used, by a company, I think some of the risks of that is, what is this agent doing and saying on behalf of this individual or this organization,
Yeah.
right? And is it representative of who we are? um and what we're about, because once it's representing you as a company, that that is your responsibility and area of accountability, right? Can't
Yeah.
say like, oh, it's just my AI that did that, right? Like you're using it and leveraging it. And so it's like you're also assuming the risk. I don't know of a specific, and that I'm not actively practicing and the like with this area of law. I'm not aware of a specific case of like an AI agent gone rogue and now there's like business consequences,
Yeah.
on account of that. But just
Yeah. Sooner or later, we'll hear.
yeah, I'm quite sure there's some that exist now. I just don't know the case and docket number, but I'm quite sure it's already happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, what is the current executive perspective on talent acquisition and retention for highly specialized roles like AI ethic officers or cloud security architects?
Yeah. So I think, and this is something where, I've seen my own colleagues and connections and the like deal with it. And then I've also read various accounts of this. The perspective of executives seems to be trending in the direction of like wanting the kitchen soup of capability and expertise in a single person
Mhm.
without compensating a specific individual for having all of those, or failing to recognize that you're not going to get the level of expertise in every single one of those areas that's needed in a single person.
Yeah.
You need a team. I think budgets are certainly strained. Technical individuals, even very senior ones, are being laid off from various organizations. So while there's an increased need for expertise in these highly skilled roles, budgets are strained.
Mhm.
And so I think that a lot of talent managers, other executives in organizations are trying to find these special unicorns,
Yeah.
right, of individuals, and they're trying to cram all that capability into one person instead of recognizing that it's really a reflection of a team of people to get the capabilities and expertise required. So as technology is moving extremely fast, in particular with the incorporation of AI and the need for AI talent and AI know-how to be incorporated into various disciplines, I think that hiring and talent managers, what should be top of mind is just recognizing that highly skilled occupations and roles require a certain amount of compensation.
Mhm.
So don't say, "Oh, nobody exists, they're not out there." It's like, take a look at your compensation package.
Yeah.
And then I would also say what needs to be top of mind is this just one person? Or do these skills and capabilities that are being sought and responsibilities really belong to a team
All right.
of two or more highly skilled professionals?
Yeah. And what's your thought on the opposite end for the newbies,
Oh,
right?
yeah. Yeah. Well, for that, certainly that speaks to why my services company, T Secure, established a clinic, right? I think as it's discussed here in the state of Maryland, where I am, the shape of opportunity is no longer a pyramid where there's a whole lot of entry level opportunities at the base,
Mhm.
but rather it seems to be more in the shape of a diamond.
Mm,
where many organizations are not looking for true entry level. They're really looking for that talent that has, at least 2, 3 years worth of role specific experience, not just, lab, training sort of experience, but actual experience in a specific role, delivering specific types of services to a customer. And so I think that that is where clinics have an opportunity for individuals to get that hands-on, real-world experience under the guidance of a subject matter expert, SME, in delivering services to clinic customers. And it's a benefit to clinic customers because they get free or reduced cost, high quality cyber services through the clinic.
yeah.
And I can attest to that sort of clinic model, not specific to cyber and AI, but for a law clinic that I used, University of Maryland Carey School of Law has an intellectual property and entrepreneurship clinic. And it's through that clinic that I got a patent for my product company, Cytoploy's solution. And so I was able to afford that because it was a clinic model
Okay.
with reduced fees that I could pay for. It took 3 years to get a patent. We all know lawyers' fees can be like, a mortgage payment and rent payment per hour.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
yeah, similar fashion, cyber services can be very costly,
Mm.
but by leveraging a clinic, it's a benefit to the learners or the early career professionals because they get hands-on experience under the guidance of a SME, and it's also beneficial to the clinic customers who get, reduced cost services, yeah, that would otherwise be unaffordable to them.
And also, like, what's your thought on the descriptions when the job postings, right? So a
Uh,
lot of the job postings is like, you need 5 years of experience for entry level, and you need to have, A, B, C, D, E, F, G.
right.
And, like, as so when I started off as, I wanted to be in a career for cybersecurity, I was looking at those job descriptions and I'm like, I can't do any of this stuff, right? I got discouraged, right? Because
Okay.
I can't do that. I don't have 5 years of experience in cybersecurity. I have 5 years experience in IT. I know some cybersecurity stuff because I went to school for it. But then, one, I got discouraged, that's for sure. Right. And then afterwards, I said, okay, screw it. I'm just going to apply for all of them, regardless of experience. Right. So shoot my shot. Here you go.
Yeah.
And I got, fortunate that a company was like, okay, you don't have the experience in what we're looking for, but we're willing to teach you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
That's awesome. Yep. Yep.
Yeah. So what's your thought on those description?
Yeah, I think it's a part of, what I had mentioned previously about the requirements
Mhm.
of what hiring partners and companies are looking for, right? You're saying entry level, but then you're saying 5 years of experience, right? You're saying entry level, but you have all these specific expectations on certain experiences, right? And it's just like it's not necessarily lining up for, you know, what you're saying you want. I think that certainly for early career professionals, I'd highly recommend leveraging AI really to look across like your transcript, any work that you have done in, say, GitHub, any experiences you've done personally, like projects at home, and really build like a resume and a profile around that. And I would say, look at what some of these like job descriptions are like the keywords they're using, right? Do opportunity specific
Okay.
resume submissions, right?
Mhm.
Like align your resume and experiences with what they're asking for. And in some cases, it might just be assigned a pass, right? I definitely am about shoot your shot, but if the whole process is like a whole lot of time an effort, and it just seems like they are looking for some purple unicorn that hops on 2 legs, can jump rope and chew gum, and you know what I mean, and cook like a chef all at the same time. It's just like
Come on. Yeah.
right, exactly. Do
Like,
they really
come
even know what
on.
they're right. Do they know what they're looking for really? Like, am I gonna be set up for success if
Mhm.
this is, already so all over the place
Yeah.
with
Like,
regards
you're juggling, 5 things at the same time because that's what they're looking
Yeah,
for, and you're like, I don't know if
yeah.
I can juggle." Like,
You're right. The expectations are a little unrealistic from the start. You have to ask yourself whether you would be setting yourself up for success or not,
mhm.
right?
Yeah,
If they're unclear on exactly what they want, then it's also going to be a lack of clarity on what success means
yeah,
and
at
what
the
it looks
company.
like. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So beyond the technical challenges of securing digital assets, what non-technical leader, perhaps in history, military strategy, or even the arts, do you look to for inspiration on strategic execution and leadership?
Yeah, honestly, I'm gonna have to go biblical, on this and
Okay.
say, Jesus, Yeshua for me. I wrote a whole book called Our Father's Business,
Okay.
right? And, the whole book is just really focused on pulling out, tenets of how, Christ led, how Christ prioritized, the focus of the day, the taking the what might seemingly be a longer, and more challenging path, but it was the path of integrity. There is a right way to get things done, working with and building a team, preparing that team to be able to carry on a legacy, far beyond.
Himself.
Right, and so for me, that's the number one kinda go-to for effective leadership. Also, throughout my career, I have been intentional about aligning myself with informal mentors that I stay in touch with. One of informal mentor, I just met with her a couple weeks ago. I first met her when I was working for Lockheed Martin, like at the outset of my career, right? So it's
Mhm.
been 20 plus years, right? And we've stayed in touch and I've seen, the things she's done and the leadership roles she's had. Most recently our discussion was just around, how and when to draw um the line with
Okay.
people, like what's the balance between grace and speed to draw a line when someone is falling short of company values um or job requirements.
Okay.
Yeah, and so that was a really good conversation to get, her perspective
Mhm.
on things like that,
Okay.
just as an example of how I approach refining my own leadership,
Okay.
and,
Awesome. Now, in an industry that demands such high stakes decisions, how do you personally define and create space for deep work or create problem solving and miss these constant demands of executive leadership?
yeah, I find that it's later in the evening that I get my focused work, right? Like
Mm.
normal business hours tend to be like meetings and responding to the issue of the day. And evening after I've done family dinner, gotten my, done the bedtime routine, then, probably like 8 p.m. to about 8 to 10, 8 to 9:30 or so is my okay, let's look at what happened today, what's on tap for tomorrow, what is the thing that I need to like get like knock out today
Yeah.
in terms of, something that takes a focused concentration. So that tends to be my time and space for
So you
for
time. Yeah.
business. Yes. Well, it's you time and focused,
Yeah.
even focused business time, right? Like
Hmm.
it's letting my mind kind of um reflect on what the day was about, kind of go back through and look at like, okay, what was done today? What is the major thing now that I have like a block of time? What do I need to knock out?
Yeah.
Yeah. And what do I need to tee up for the next day
Okay. So it's
to
like
continue momentum?
it's your reflection time plus prep time in that 2 hour.
Exactly.
Okay,
Yep.
cool.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
Now, this is a question that I've asked a few of my guests. If you were to go back in your early 20s, what would you advise on your early 20s teen?
I think I would just tell myself to, yeah, double down on trying a lot of different things early on. I was blessed to have the opportunity to participate in a few leadership acceleration sort of programs, leadership development programs, and that included some rotational opportunities where, my first job at Lockheed Martin was a rotational program. So I got to spend 6 months doing application software development,
Okay.
then another 6 months doing enterprise network security reviews, then another 6 months doing computer forensics and, um, like, endpoint security, and
Cool.
so yeah, it was really cool, and it
Cool.
also kinda helped me shape and determine what am I really interested in and what do I really wanna
Mhm.
build my career around, right? Like,
Yeah.
I had the opportunity to sample.
Yeah.
And I think I would just tell myself to, just double down on that, right? I think I like that I did have that experience and exposure
Mhm.
and took advantage of it. So I think it would just be do more of that. I think that would be my advice.
That's awesome. That's awesome advice. Well, I am out of questions. I thank you so much, Tina, for coming on. It was a pleasure to have you on. And thank you to the audience, the Wise crew. And I will see you guys next time. Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.